well, I don't know. And then it's been interesting. Like both of us, parallel paths down into this whole DeFi stuff, and then finally meeting up again.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, they're doing some cool stuff over there. They got this cool economic model where they like make bears for like people, or you like have a papa bear and then somebody has your baby bear, and then you have to spend all this time and money trying to like get the baby bear back. And they've created this market that shouldn't exist.
What's that Twitter account you were talking about on Agora? I was dying. I looked it up. It's so
Which one?
funny. With the Barras?
Janitor one?
It might be. You and Drop were talking about it. It's incredible, and
Yeah.
it's like day 300 and something
Oh,
waiting.
Penny, something Penny. And then Zeus was like, "What's your address?" And then and then he's like, "I still haven't got my bear yet." It's up to like day 40 now or something. All right. Well, we might kick off in a sec. We had Beebs who was going to join us from the partnerships team as well. There he is. Is there anyone else from DebtDAO coming?
This is us. I know Bob. Bob. He's in the chat. He's in the audience, but I might pull him up if we want to. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It'll mostly just be us talking. Yeah, at the moment.
Oh, cool. Yep. All right. Well, I think we got quite a few people. I'll start the recording. So I stuffed it up last time, and I didn't record my own voice. So I had to like cut it back in because the Phantom guys were like, "Where's our AMA? We want it." I was like, "Oh no." All right, I'll start the recording now. Yeah. All right. Welcome, Omis, to the AMA with Olympus and DebtDAO. The partnerships team in the DAO has been speaking to DebtDAO for maybe since like August, I think we started. Is that right, Will?
Yeah, it's been a long time. We were being considered for like the first batch of the Olympus Pro.
Oh wow, yeah, long time ago. So recently we've been going back and forth with DebtDAO. We've done sort of due diligence into them, the team. We think the project and the team share kind of the Olympus values, and they wanted to kind of give to the OMI community, and we're famous for diamond handing out tokens, and so with the kind of support of the partnerships team, the DebtDAO team has put up a proposal on the partnerships channel. I don't know if Natch, if you can link that in the AMA questions, the request for comment. So the request for comment sets out sort of these synergies between DebtDAO and Olympus. For example, when Olympus moves from our sort of growth stage down to the currency stage, we'll be looking for reliable protocols and partners to be able to take in Ohm and be able to like lend it out to people. This is probably quite a while into the future, but it's good to plan ahead. Also, we have a massive treasury of stable coins, and hopefully DebtDAO will be able to do something with us there in terms of management, and we'll obviously start small if we do it, which will be subject to another vote by the community. Obviously, we can't. No one can do anything without with treasury without the community say so. And yes, and then also DebtDAO looking at whether or not they want to raise in Ohm in the near future, which would be very nice for Ohm and very, very sustainable for them to have in their treasury as well. Obviously, if they keep their liquidity in GOM, that'll keep rebasing as well. So lots of synergies, a friendly team, and yes, the partnerships teams who have been speaking to Will and Kiba, and done some background research into the project and kind of its prospects, and yeah, we like it. And the proposal has sort of come together in discussion with DebtDAO, and the proposal gives Olympus 3.3% of the supply vested over 18 months, and that's obviously on the proviso that Olympus is diamond-handed with that allocation, which is our intention as a reserve currency. Obviously, we just want to take in assets; we don't want to put them out. And then DebtDAO is going to sort of be able to align with the community, and then our success will be their success. And if they have Ohm in their treasury, their success will be our success. So a great long-term alignment. If the community thinks that this project's worthy and wants to enter into that formal partnership, then that'll be going up for a vote, hopefully later this week sometime, and then the community can have their say then. So also up here with me, as well as Will and Kiba, who are the kind of co-founders of the DebtDAO project, we have Natch and Beebs. Natch and Beebs are working on the partnerships team with me, and I'll be helping facilitate and make sure all the questions in the AMA channel are picked up, and the people who are asking to come up and speak sort of sherped their way up here. So maybe Will or Kiba, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about DebtDAO, about how you got here, your background, just whatever you want to share on that front. I think, Will, you're boxed. I don't know, but no matter, whatever you want to share, and then we can kind of let them know a little bit about you, and then a little bit about the project. And then we'll take some questions from the audience, and then we'll kind of finish out, hopefully in about an hour's time. We want to be respectful of people's time.
So thanks for that intro, Mark. Like you mentioned, really excited to be working with the Ohmies. You guys have created a really strong community, and we want to we want to be able to bring a lot of that same energy that's been able to create a lot of these cool products and rock the DeFi space, and bring about a new era of innovation to DAO debt as well, and to our community. So excited to see where that is coming from. In terms of a quick intro of myself, my name is William. I'm not doxxed, but you literally just get on a call and I'll come up with my real name. So not trying particularly hard to keep myself private. So yeah, so very, very pseudonymous. But I originally started off in crypto a little less than a year ago. So actually a little bit more of a greenhorn, but started off in a Gitcoin as a steward, and still am a steward to this day, helping vote on various things and advise on. The thing I was mainly focusing on was anti-fraud detection, which is a big concern for Gitcoin in particular. Then moved on to Llama with Shreyas, and that's how I met Kiba. And I think that experience was particularly enlightening for me, because I just saw how early stage we were with a lot of the treasury stuff, and was able to do some work on that end, and met Kiba, and then started on this idea, and I guess the rest is history. You want to go?
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Kiba Gato. Also, semi-doxed. Kiba's not my real name, but I'll definitely tell my real name to people when I'm on a call. I started in crypto in about 2017, and just met a bunch of people from Consensus. Then I started working at Consensus as a full stack developer mid 2018 for about a year and a half, and then I just got full time into DeFi and DAOs. I've been working full time since beginning of 2020. And so, yeah, I was one of the first users of Curve and Yearn, one of the first 1,000 SNX stakers, and all those kinds of things. And yeah, so now I'm just kind of more in the building phase. I kind of did the whole DeFi degen thing, and I want to contribute back to the community, you could say. So yeah, so I had this idea for DebtDAO. Met William through Llama, as he said, when I was kind of trying to find some people that were interested in the DAO treasury space, and obviously Llama is one of the best at that. And Ohm obviously is now one of the other new leaders in DAO treasuries and management. So we're really excited to be working with you guys, because we think this is a big opportunity for the whole ecosystem to kind of grow together.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
more
Yeah. You
more on
go,
what
Willie.
more on what DebtDAO itself is like I don't know, like just take a look at like the DAO debt landscape, and um, it's basically like a wasteland, man. There's a bunch of carcasses, and like these carcasses are projects that had to raise debt, had to create debt obligations because they got hacked, right? And they had to issue like these promissory tokens. And that's really unfortunate because debt is like such a powerful tool. What is rattling off some of the benefits, like it's cheaper in terms of cost of capital. It's a lot more predictable. You can start like locking in fixed rates. Just a whole ton of benefits that come with that just really aren't being realized right now. I think Olympus Pro has like cracked like a really solid chunk of this market when it comes to like debt for the purpose of providing a lot of liquidity and buy for protocols to buy LP tokens. But there's just so many different kinds of ways that debt can be explored. There's such a big problem space that isn't being explored right now. We're looking to start on. I think this could be, if you look at debt equity ratios in TradFi, the debt markets are like $150 trillion, versus equity, which is like just 50 trillion. Um, and I'm not gonna go out and say, oh well, debt is going to be like a $900 billion market, but there's certainly a ton of room for growth in this particular segment of the industry. So
Very cool. Well, maybe you can tell us a little bit about who else is doing kind of debt or like under collateralized lending, just so people kind of get an understanding about like who else is operating in this space, and then like maybe you can tell us a little bit about what's different about DebtDAO, just so people have a bit of context for where you guys fit in.
Yeah, so like first you have solutions like Olympus Pro, obviously, where you're able to buy LP tokens by issuing debt. This is like it's been like pretty popular as of lately, and we're looking to expand. I think that one's like very exciting. In terms of more traditional types of debt, where you're looking at like longer terms, like you're just raising stable coins, for example, there are like very few options out there. If you're like an institution, you can tap into resources like TrueFi, Maple. There are a few others like and Jellyfi as well. But if you're just a DAO looking for this kind of stuff, your only options are really sourcing a deal from like investors. Maybe you're good friends with investor and they can like provide you some funds, or B, really sourcing capital from Iron Bank. But the issue with Iron Bank is that they've really stalled out in terms of progress. And like when's the last time you heard about Iron Bank? Let's be real. Like after Cream got hacked, they've like gone completely silent. And the second thing is that the issue with Iron Bank is that it's a very relationship driven, and the trust assumptions are the trust assumptions are super duper high. Like they're doing completely uncollateralized lending, and the issue with that is that you're basically like putting your entire trust in the fact that they're going to repay with a lot of this stuff. So it's a little bit of a question on how scalable that kind of approach is. With us, like we're looking to the area we're going to differentiate ourselves is we're looking to go, as scalable as a route that we can go. We're basically creating a community to coordinate a lot of the coordination layer for debt deals. If you look at what I've described previously in terms of like what the situation looks right now, it's very, very scattered, right? If you can source if you can source capital, you're generally friends with the people that you can source capital from. So it's like it's like a relationship game. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to aggregate both sides of the equation, whether it's the funding side, and it's also like the borrowing side. So on the funding side, we've done a lot of partnership with stablecoin issuers, for example. Have a governance post up in Fay. Also have like a governance post, and we passed a snapshot with Frax, so we have a partnership on there. And obviously, looking to have a partnership with Olympus, where we're able to secure a lot of the capital in this space at a very cheap cost. And because we're able to source a lot of this capital at a very cheap cost, we're also able to aggregate a lot of the debt as well. So we want to open competitive marketplace, and this is where we think we can really carve out our niche, right? You don't go to 1inch, you don't go to Uniswap if you have like $100 million worth of ETH and you want to swap it to a particular token, you go to 1inch, right? The kind of people who can aggregate a lot of these things, and that's where we really see our kind of role, just being that aggregator marketplace style model.
Very cool. Kiba, did you have some more thoughts on that? Anything to add?
No, that mostly summarizes up like the competitor landscape and our differentiation. I would just add that, yeah, like we're trying, through this community, we're trying to make this debt funding kind of positive sum for the entire ecosystem. So instead of us trying to kind of like extract as much value from the borrowers as much as possible, we're trying to help DAOs that need growth funding to get the best deal possible and increase like capital efficiency within the space so that we can kind of like all come together as one community across all of DeFi through DebtDAO to make sure that everyone's getting what they need.
Very cool. So Will, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the kind of mechanisms you have in mind for DebtDAO operating, and the trying to think. Sorry, I just been a long time in my house. So just the mechanisms and then the kind of risk systems that you're gonna kind of implement. Is there? Do you have like lots of expertise? I know the answers to these questions, but I'm just asking on behalf of the audience. Do you have like systems for sort of managing risk and like these risk models? What kind of background expertise in sort of risk do you guys bring to the table that the community can kind of have confidence that you know what you're talking about and what you're doing? Maybe you can explore that a little bit for us.
Yeah. So in terms of like background, obviously like Kiba and I have worked in Llama, so we've like had experience like looking at DAO treasuries and whatnot. Kiba was on the Cream listing committee. I always have to caveat that he didn't approve the things that got hacked, but just more to going to show that we have experience when it comes to like doing due diligence, like at a high and like low level, like examining what kind of risk factors are involved. We're actually compiling like a report right now on like the exact kind of risk factors that we're looking into. And if, obviously with an eye towards scalability, like looking at how we can get things to scale up a lot more. And yeah, like just the vision is hopefully like you'll be able to pop into a contract address, and then we'll be able to pop out like an estimate given given your loan, given your revenues, your on-chain revenues, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of like other people that we've onboarded recently, Bob, who's in the audience, has a lot of experience when it comes to like risk analysis. His background is as the VP, former VP of a risk modeling company in TradFi. So he does bring a great wealth of experience, and we have like a few other people who have a lot of experience when it comes to that.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Kiba,
and then to add on to that, we have this thing that we're calling a Spigot. So kind of what we're talking about with Iron Bank, where you're having to trust the DAOs or whatever institution in order to actually provide the loan and completely under collateralized. We're taking like a revenue-based approach where basically we're going to have a contract that can like own the on-chain revenue streams of DAOs and use that essentially as a collateral for a loan. So if you're making, let's say like Ohm is making a whatever X million dollars a month in revenue, then we can use that as a basis for providing the loan. And then the lender has assurances that they will be getting a certain amount of money every month to repay the interest rates or repay the principal. And they don't have to trust Ohm in order to pay it back. They know that the smart contracts will automatically pay back the loan for them.
So it kind of takes a little, whatever, an agreed chunk of the revenue, and it kind of is just this extra bit that sits in the smart contract. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like a portion of the revenue would go back to repaying the loan and issuing the lender, but the rest would still go back to the Ohm treasury.
Perfect. Notch, Beebs, did you have any questions you think the audience otherwise would want to know? Otherwise, we'll jump in and start taking the AMA questions.
No, I think we've got a few teed up in the AMA questions, so would love to hear from our colleagues, since I think we're all our fellow Omis, since we're all kind of familiar already a little bit. That's all right.
Yeah, I agree with Natch. I think William and Keith have done a good overview of the product. So let's get into the questions.
Do it.
You ready, Will? Eva?
Yeah, throw them.
Yeah, let's go for
All
it.
right, let's do it. Nash, what do we got first?
Well, let's see. The first one is from Mittenburn, asking about the index co-op looking to do with DebtDAO. So
Yeah. So actually, I got the idea for DebtDAO by working at Index Co-op. So very similar to Olympus Pro, or I guess Olympus in general. I realized that like Index Co-op was spending like millions of dollars a month on liquidity mining, and I was like, there must just be an easy way to do this and like to get this necessary liquidity in order to grow our product without spending millions of dollars a month in selling our equity and diluting shareholders, right? So I was just like, why don't we, instead of selling equity to rent liquidity, why don't we sell debts to own liquidity, right? And so basically we're looking to provide a loan to Index Co-op so that they can bootstrap new products, because like obviously that's a big part of DeFi, is like having liquidity for whatever tokens so that people can buy into it, especially with the types of products that Index Co-op has, where there are these passive investment vehicles. So that's the main use case for Index Co-op's loan is to bootstrap products essentially, and then they also want to use some other kind of growth initiatives.
Yeah, and to interject right here, like this is the kind of thing that like the more niche thing that a product like Olympus Pro might not be able to cover, because like Olympus Pro with protocol and liquidity, that's cool, but like the whole point of index products is that you have other people that own them, right? So the fact that we're able to have these tailored solutions that are able to capture the long tail that maybe Olympus Pro isn't as easily able to capture.
Very cool. Nash, what else do we have?
Yeah.
Otherwise, do we have any hands up as well? No hands up. It's all the text channel. What do we got next?
So we've got a pretty good question here. I love this. How are you going to determine over collateralization percentage? Tell us about your secrets.
Can't let up the secret sauce up here. No, just kidding. Yeah. So just going back to the fact that Kiba has experience with like on the Cream Listing Committee. So like it's just a matter of like looking at like the liquidity of that particular token, and then determining based on like the size of the loan and whatnot. If it's like a more liquid token, then we would probably have something like a 200% collateralization ratio. But if it is more, if it is going to be more of like a illiquid token with without like a strong oracle, without a Chainlink oracle, then we would probably put it at a 500 to 600%. The advantage right here is that because because it is like more illiquid, it's more fine for the protocol to like put up these tokens as collateral, right? I mean, they're just sitting around. It doesn't really, from a protocol standpoint, since there's little to no carry on these tokens, like it's fine that it stays in as collateral. The second bit is that obviously when you have such high amount of like illiquid collateral, it doesn't really make sense to have a quick and nasty liquidation bot, because once you run that liquidation bot through, suddenly you have like the token supply doubled overnight. That's not good in terms of like a protocol standpoint. Like obviously you don't want to get liquidated just because there's like a price swing, and also B, you don't want to have something like that pop up. So this is another one of the assurances that we're able to make in, where we'll have like an arbitration process in which we'll decide, okay, how are we going to sell out these tokens from the stage, via like liquidation, or are we going to distribute tokens via directly to the people who are owning it? Yeah.
And this ties nicely into the next question, which is configuring the spigot. Kind of, how do you configure the spigot? How difficult is it to kind of pivot in these situations? I always thought with a spigot, you just turn it to the left or the right, but maybe a different way.
Yeah, so we're still writing out like the PRD. Actually, Kiba is writing that. Maybe if you want to pipe up and interject. But we're looking to we're looking to get integrations with Zodiac multisigs so that the configuration, it isn't as big of a configuration hell. Although I can definitely see it, it potentially like becoming a little bit difficult. But by hopefully standardizing it as much as possible using like Zodiac, the whole Gnosis multisig infrastructure, we should make that process a lot easier to configure.
Did you want to jump in?
Yeah. So like on the whole liquidation aspect, like the Spigot is there more like an assurance, I guess you could say, for like the ongoing payments. But in the event of a default or in the event that like revenue starts dropping and now the interest payment and like interest is accruing faster than the revenue can pay it off, then yeah, there is like some kind of arbitration process where either we'll have to like liquidate some of the collateral or figure out if we have to like refinance the loan with the lender or what have you. So the Spigot is really just there as like a base layer of security for the loan, but it definitely won't provide everything that we need in order to ensure that the loan gets repaid. So yeah, it's definitely a more nuanced approach.
All right. We've got a little degen question here. When launch, fellow Beras from Sir, the rest of my name. Also asking when whitelist. So I don't know if you want to address any of that. If not, we have a few more questions as well.
Yeah, I mean, on the whitelist question, like that's like, I don't know, that's like a weird thing. I mean, maybe if we wanted to like be really short term, but like I really don't see the advantage of a whitelist. It's just like it just creates a lot of weird temporary incentives. In terms of like when launch, I think what's exciting is that go to market is everything, right? If we want to become this shelling point of like coordination, we need to be out there up front, like doing a lot of these deals and hitting the market. So this does mean that in the initial stages, we will be using a lot of the process for doing a lot of these loans will be manual. There's no we will have contracts that automate a lot of what we're out doing, but especially in the initial stages, we're able to like refine the process and see the rubber hit the road before like creating a lot of the smart contracts, getting audits done, et cetera, et cetera.
And skipping into another question, and I'm not trying to go out of order, but it makes sense to kind of pinpoint here. How many projects do you think are ready to participate in the borrowing at this point? I know you've got some things right now on your website talking about some folks you're already kind of in the process of working with, but maybe some things you can share. And specifically, there were folks asking questions about like, if competitors out there can target DAOs right now, like a Maple.
Yeah. So I think we're initially going to focus on like DAOs with strong revenues. And I mean, on this point, like I think you might be a little bit surprised to see the DAOs that have strong revenues. First one I'd like to point to as like a good case study is like if you look at the play to earn space, how many DAOs, a lot of these guilds are already very cash flow positive, generating like lots of SLP profits like each month. And in terms of like DeFi DAOs, there are actually quite a few DAOs that are making a decent amount of money. So we're looking to service these kinds of opportunities to begin with. But obviously, if you look at a lot of the infrastructure that we built out and like kind of the expansive vision that we have, we'll move quickly to even more less profitable DAOs. Maybe their recurring revenues aren't as strong, but we really think this could expand to quite a few use cases.
Got a lot of questions coming in.
And not only DAOs, right, William?
Yeah, so like this sort of like relates to the question that Drushi Drush.eth asked in the chat about like, are you going to support consumer debt as well? We're looking to do like protocol to protocol lending, where we extend a line of credit to the DAO itself, and the DAO is able to syndicate that line of credit out to users on the platform. This is a concept that's very popular in Web 2. It's called embedded lending. If you go to a website and you see like a $10,000 shoe and you can't really afford it, but you see that button that's on the bottom that says like, financed by a firm. That's an example of like embedded lending where, you're able to, DAOs that you wouldn't expect normally to be lenders are able to like unlock that lending capacity. So like, what's a good example of like us looking that kind of relationship out? So have been talking to Alex Salnikov at Rarible, and like Rarible by any they're like an NF, they're a little bit like an OpenSea, right? They're just an NFT marketplace. On that one, the kind of relationship that we're looking with there is that we extend a line of credit to Rarible. Rarible is going to obviously going to portion some of that line of credit to operational expenses, but they're looking to they're exploring ways in which they're able to use that line of credit to say finance um, you know artists on the platform who have strong recurring revenues from NFTs. Obviously, this is like still very early, but we'd be able. This just basically means that even though Rarible itself may not be able to be generating like strong recurring revenues, we'd be able to generate strong select out the exact portion of the DAO's business line that is generating recurring revenues and be able to unlock that portion and generate yield for us. Quite a bit of opportunities right there.
Yeah, very cool. Kiba, did you have anything to add on that front?
Just on the like opportunity aspect, and also you mentioned like competitors, like about Maple. So there's like Sushi had that kind of somewhat controversial like VC raise that they were trying to do for $60 million, but what they really wanted was like money for operational expenses and to like pay higher salaries and whatnot. They weren't necessarily trying to include more like strategic partners or anything like that. So that right there would be like an awesome opportunity for a loan, potentially, which would be like a $50 million loan, which would be like the biggest loan that's ever happened in DeFi, at least like not through a lending platform, right? So there's a lot of opportunity here. The space is just very immature. I think there's some education that might have to happen for like DAO treasuries and knowing how to manage it and like how this new paradigm will work. But there is a lot of appetite for like large size deals that we can service. And then like on competitors and looking at DAOs, Maple Finance says that they were going to start looking to do DAO deals or create DAO pools, I guess you could say. And I think that was like last week's community call that they mentioned that. And then Jellyfi, I think, is also more focused on DAOs, or at least they used to be. Now I'm not sure if they're really doing DAOs. So, but I think we're like the main one that's like focused on DAO to DAO deals. So like having stablecoin issuers, let's say, make deals directly with other DAOs instead of everyone coming to our platform necessarily. I think we offer a much wider range of products for both borrowers and lenders to access.
Yeah, and so it's like one thing to say you're focused on DAOs and like you're able to service this DAO segment, and it's another thing to actually be able to do it. Kiba mentioned Jellyfi earlier, but like Jellyfi originally focused on DAOs, but given their lack of like connections within DAOs and their like inexperience when it comes to like this kind of market, they had to branch out to more TrueFi style lending. And I think that's going to be our moat, that we are so DAO native that we are plugged into organizations like Olympus, where I guess other people can try, but the only way you're going to succeed is if you're going to join our platform or not. So that's the kind of like vibe that we're taking, where it's better to join us than to work alone. Sort of like 3-3, right?
Very cool. So maybe I can just what you guys are providing is this kind of sort of a bit like a layer between sort of say Frax and Faye, and they have their stable coins and they want to find sort of yield for that, right? Because they've got them sort of sitting there, but they don't have anyone to kind of go through like the kind of relationship process and the risk process, and then have these sort of on-chain mechanisms to be able to have like some satisfaction that the loans are going to be repaid, and they can be for like preferable terms, rather than just sort of whacking it themselves into a fuse pool and hoping people come and borrow it. Is that kind of the DebtDAO vision?
Yeah, that and the fact that there's tranches, right? I mean, obviously, if there are going to be haircuts, like you don't want haircuts on your stablecoin, right? That's not good news. So you can start tranching out the risk and having like various bits and pieces allocated to each tranche to ensure that if you're in a stablecoin issuer, you're going to be hanging around at the senior tranche where you can be assured that your stuff is safe. rather than maybe like let's say Faye goes out and then issues like a really subpar loan, and then that loan defaults and something like that, and like the stablecoin gets off of Peg. We'd be able to avoid that kind of risk by having a lot of the risk risk parameters in place.
Yep, very cool.
And
So, do you want to tell us a bit more about tranches, maybe Will or Kiba? Just what are tranches, and sort of like Will just said there that like stablecoin issuers would want to be in the senior tranche. What does that mean? Like a senior tranche? I'm sure a lot of people in the audience know, but like I'm sure there's a lot of people. This is the first time they've heard that word.
Yeah, we're still like developing this one out, and initially we're probably going to do, because we're going to be interacting with a lot of like very safe DAOs with strong recurring revenue. We probably won't have a junior tranche. We'll just like have only one, have it all collated into one tranche. But for like in traditional finance, what happens is they'll like separate out the risk in multiple buckets, and by having like a senior tranche, this tranche gets paid out first. They're the people who have like the ticket to be first in line if there's some kind of bankruptcy event. That way that after the people first in line are able to get their funds, the people next in line, the junior tranches, are able to get a certain amount. But maybe they might only be able to get 50 cents on the dollar or something like that. As a result of them taking on this additional amount of risk, what will generally happen is that the junior tranche will be able to unlock a higher rate of yield, right? Because you are taking, yeah.
So it's like a higher APY if you're taking on the kind of
higher
more
APY
risk.
and also variable.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Kiba, you were about to say something before we moved off into tranches?
Yeah, what was I going to say? What were we talking about right before that? It's okay. We can move on. There's another question.
Yeah, well, if it comes back to you, just jump in. Nacho, Beebs, do we have some more AMA questions?
Yeah, I think one of the good AMA questions to discuss is just around the type of covenants that you're thinking about applying to this lending.
So I'll answer this question. In terms of like what covenants look like, obviously you have to have these covenants for how the arbitration is going to react in various scenarios. We have like a guy who worked as a solicitor and also like an ex investment banker at Credit Suisse on our team. So he's helping write a lot of these covenants out, and like it's like your normal TradFi stuff like acceleration clauses, et cetera. I think we would have these covenants even for DAOs that do have Chainlink oracles. It just makes a lot of sense to have these kinds of things, these assurances built in.
And these are the public agreements. Is that like how the debt is going to be, how it's going to be repaid, and like if there's a dispute, who can resolve it, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things related to arbitration might be kind of like off chain, because obviously like you need some kind of oracle, which will eventually just be a human being. But ideally we can codify as much as possible within the actual smart contracts that dictate the terms of the loan.
Very cool. And then
an example of a covenant might be like if governance passes a thing to settling midway during the loan, take out the spigot. That would be like a clause to accelerate to arbitration, right? Those kinds of assurances.
Very cool. Notch, do we have? Surely there's more questions.
Oh yeah. People just kind of wanting to know how this is laid out. Fork style, CRV. Just kind of trying to understand your operating model as far as how you're going to be working your governance model, things like that. Maybe just a quick 10,000 foot level.
Not an ohm fork, right?
Not an ohm fork, no.
The server
acquire all the debt. Yeah, that's our goal. Just give everyone debt and acquire it. No. So as far as governance goes, like the reason why the marketplace structure is to kind of have like a ungovernance, like disintermediated process where we can have this kind of diverse and vibrant ecosystem. where people can propose new solutions, people can innovate, people can build their own interoperable smart contracts, things like that. So our goal is to have basically essentially no governance, you could say, as far as like deciding which particular loans happen. We're hoping that like independent market participants will make their own decisions, and we will initially be one of those market participants making loans with the funds that we raise and whatnot. And then as far as like the token economics, it's, I guess you could say it's more of like the off style with like a safety module, so that if someone defaults, like that token stakers can stake their tokens, and then if that borrower happens to default, then those particular tokens will go to repay the lender. And then in return for staking and taking on that risk, they will earn a percentage of all the interest fee payments.
Cool. I think a couple of people would say, are they?
Are they?
Dude, it's not as
Yeah.
bad as Ave. I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
say his name. It's Block Enthusiast of PyDAO.
Oh, yeah. He says
Oh.
Abe? That's funny.
Yes. You need to
I
correct
don't
him.
know. I don't know what the official saying is.
It's
Do we have
Aave.
some more? Yeah. Do we have more questions, Naj?
We do. Just kind of wondering. I'm surprised, Drushi, that you're not hand raised on some of this stuff, but maybe just a couple extra words on kind of how you can work with different DAOs or different, it doesn't even have to be a DAO really, but just any Web3, thinking about how to give employees access to debt. I mean, I think that's an interesting concept that Drushi brings up, but also, when you said affirm, I think that's a pretty interesting thing that people can relate to right now. I mean, they see those ads almost quite literally everywhere. Hey, do you want to pay with Affirm? So is there something that, maybe you would like to kind of mention or think through a little bit with regards to that, as far as maybe helping folks that work at some of these companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's cool is that we don't really have to get ourselves into weeds about some of this stuff. Like for us, we're able to originate a lot of stuff that normally can't be originated, and allowing the DAOs to really do a lot of the work when it comes to doing the due diligence. I think a good example is that maybe the DAO finds that these kinds of contributors would be best to reward with a low interest rate payment, right? But we wouldn't need to care about that, right? We're able to offload a lot of these more long tail opportunities to the DAOs themselves. I think a good example that is good for illustrating this kind of point is we're exploring this thing with Realty, and they're also known as Real Token. And what they're doing is they're basically selling factoring rent payments for properties for tokenized real estate on the blockchain. And what we would be able to do is you rely on their expertise and develop out smart contracts on their side, such that we'd be able to finance, say, Section 8 housing in particular, because Section 8 housing has the most robust amount of interest payments, because the government is backstopping a lot of these payments, for example, right? And then maybe Realty would have exclusion criteria that would exclude Mediterranean luxury properties, because that is more the rent payments on that are more seasonal, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and then to add on to that, other potentially use cases would be for employees specifically would be let's say you're getting vested tokens, and ideally we can get to a point where a lot of this stuff is at least somewhat automated, and so you can say okay, well, I as a person am making this revenue from this vesting contract, which is obviously very stable and reliable, and then we could use that as a basis to give out a loan. Also, if you're getting streamed payments from Sablia or something like that, that could also be a P2P loan. Or if, let's say, you are a VE curve voter or staker, then you have all these on-chain revenues as an individual address. We could also use VE curve 3-pool rewards, or convex bribing rewards, or things like that. So yeah, as we start building out the tech and hopefully getting a lot more data on how these loan processes will work and how they get repaid through the Spigot, then we can be a lot more automated and like service a longer tail of assets to more individuals instead of large scale DAOs.
I
really
want to
cool to
ask
know
a
that.
question, but before I do, Omer Simpson in the chat says 99 for DAOs, and I thought that was so clever.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
So we got sorry, William Kiba, did you have anything more to add on the last question?
Nope.
Oh, cool. We've got Zaxi.eth up here who's been waiting patiently. Zaxi, why don't you tell us what your question is, or maybe you got something else to say? I don't know.
Yeah, thanks. So I apologize if this is somewhat of an elementary question. I'm relatively new to the whole like DeFi DAO space, but I was curious, like, what I know there's a lot of other kind of DeFi DAOs that are much smaller, but I'm curious what it is that incentivizes somebody to use Olympus over some of the other forks, like Wonderland. I know that's on Avalanche, but something even like bigger, like maybe Sushi or Uniswap or something like that.
Yeah, all right. I suppose that's like a super general question about Olympus rather than DebtDAO, this like proposed partnership. So you would want to use Olympus, but happy to address it. So imagine that you had a protocol and all they were focused on was becoming a reserve currency, and then you had another one which was like wanting to buy a McDonald's one week or an ice skating rink the next. Like you just don't have a very clear vision about what everyone's working towards. So Olympus has a super clear vision, and then a lot of these other Olympus forks, they don't really have a clear vision. They want to do all sorts of different things at all sorts of different times. So if you have a clear vision, everyone, including your partners, can work together and say, oh, well, we understand what space Olympus wants to occupy, and we understand what their vision is going to be. So we can then activate like the 200 DAO members who are all working towards one vision, and then the innumerable sort of Olympus alumni who are out there building their own products because they know where everyone's going. So everyone can work there together. But if only one person or only a very small group of people knows what the plan is, then it's very difficult for anybody but that small group or that single person to be working towards that agenda. So I think that's kind of what the diff is. So we're just here talking about this specific partnership in this AMA, but we have like various spaces, and then you can also ask in the questions channel in this server anything you want to ask in general about Olympus. Is that all right, Zaxi?
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty new to it, so sorry about that. But thank you.
That's all good. All good. Thanks for stopping by. Nash, do we have maybe one or two more questions, and then we can sort of finish out because we're getting close to the hour now.
Yeah, definitely. Some folks kind of, well, I'll mention Fluid, our OMI of the week. Can Geom be used for voting on partnership proposals on Snapshot?
Only if you vote yes.
Sorry. So the Geom is being switched over to the Snapshot, and we're working with DebtDAO to make sure that their proposal is going to be able to have the OMIs be able to vote on it in that way before they propose it up to the Snapshot. So before it goes to Snapshot, we have to do the temperature check on the forum, which will be sort of this 48-hour period, and OMIs can say, hey, we love these guys, let's do this, or hey, we don't know about them. I think it'll be the former, and that's hopefully going to give us enough time to get that Snapshot switched over to Geom. That's my very strong conviction that that's going to happen. But we will be communicating exactly with the community exactly how that's all going to work, and hopefully we'll be able to work with DebtDAO to make sure that that proposal doesn't go off until that changeover is made. So that's kind of all we can say on it at the moment. We're sort of working with the Snapshot to get it switched over, and then working with DebtDAO to make sure that the proposal doesn't go up. I don't know if you guys have discussed this, but it's not going to be that kind of Lobus situation where you're going to have like a airdrop for voting yes. Is that can we confirm that now so we don't have a lot of people sort of running around worried?
Will neither conform or deny. No, I'm just kidding. There's no. I mean, like that's just like weird, bruh. We want to have like real tokenomics, not just like airdroponomics.
Yeah. All right. So definitely participate if you can at OMIs. It's very important to participate in governance. But if you're worried that if you don't vote you won't get an airdrop, that's not what this type of agreement is about. And DebtDAO have just confirmed that they won't be doing that type of thing. So we've got Nikhail. We've got Nikhail up here on stage. Welcome. Do you have a question? How are you going, sir?
Yeah, Nikhail from Untitled Capital. I appreciate you guys hosting this. Kind of had two softball questions. Just kind of was curious how DebtDAO was thinking about like loan terms or the dynamics around loans when loaning out to different industries like DeFi versus gaming. I guess you could argue that they might be exposed to sort of different, I guess, risks. And then sort of the overall portfolio makeup. Do you envision, I guess, the first set of loans to be more towards more mature gaming DAOs, like I guess you had mentioned earlier, or what would be the allocation of loans? Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've mentioned like sector exposure in our risk analysis framework that we're working on. We don't have like a hard answer to it, but we are, like cognizant, obviously, like if something happens on DeFi, like metaverse stuff might be fine, and like metaverse is now different from GameFi. So yeah, there's that's something that like we'll handle, like lenders will have to handle on a more individual basis. And then, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. Okay, so just kind of wait to hear back and sort of the outcome of the internal discussion then.
I mean, well, like we're definitely looking at that as part of like our risk analysis framework, and it is something that needs to be taken into consideration, obviously, like isolating your risk or managing your risk across multiple sectors. So we should have the risk analysis framework done relatively soon. We've been working on it for a few weeks now, or a couple months. So yeah, you can just hop into our Discord and you should be able to see it when it comes out.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
One of the more random like points I'd like to bring up is that I think that's really exciting, that the fact that we're able to originate a lot of debt from like multiple different types of like industries, industries within DeFi, within like Web3, that like, when it comes to like the stablecoin issuers, the stuff isn't as correlated. So that's one of the main benefits that we're bringing to stablecoin issuers.
Okay, that answers my question. I appreciate it, guys.
Very cool.
Quick,
maybe one more, Nash, and then we'll finish out.
Yeah, no, I was going to say just quickly, wanted to just kind of ask this question because it came up early on. It was actually the first question that was asked, and then there was a few people that asked certain other things, and you had mentioned it about potential for other types of lending transactions. But how would you say this maybe fits in? And I'll change the question slightly, but how would you say this fits in with others out there, such as Rari, or maybe some other projects that are out there that are looking to capitalize on real estate and other things? Where would you say this kind of fits into the lending ecosystem and carving out that piece for you?
We empower a lot of those use cases, right? We are that aggregator for a lot of these lending sources, whether it's institutional capital, whether it's DeFi capital, whether it's like stablecoin issuers. We're able to aggregate a lot of these things. So we can empower. I mean, like Realty, for example, like or Gearbox, where they provide generalized leverage to users. We're able to. We're looking to do an integration with them where we're able to empower that kind of leverage on that platform at a cheap rate.
That's a wonderful response. Thank you.
So maybe we'll just finish out here. So Will, Kiba, thanks so much for coming and meeting with the Omis. They're always keen to learn more about cool projects and teams in the space, especially ones that share our values and want to become aligned with Olympus. So maybe Will, Kiba, you can tell us about DebtDAO. We've got the Discord link. Maybe Nash or Beebs can chuck the Discord link in the AMA questions. So are you looking to kind of bring all the Omis into the Discord? What sort of things are you looking for people to help out with kind of getting the protocol ready for launch? I think you said launch will be next month, or is that in January is the hope? So yeah.
So looking to hire, so exciting stuff happening in the DebtDAO Discord. I think one thing I want to bring up is that we're very open Discord. Like you can see a lot of what we're talking about. If you want to hop on to the if you really want to hop on to the weekly stand-up calls, like you can. A little bit boring, but I mean it just goes to show like we want to get you guys involved and want to onboard new contributors. In terms of contributors, we're really focusing on, we do have a very solid cachet of people. I will just a quick call out for Solidity devs and developers inside this. If you're listening right now, definitely do hit Kiba and my DMs ASAP. We're looking to have more developers start developing things out. But in terms of delivering, excited to have a lot of stuff to deliver in the future. And keep your eyes peeled on our Twitter and in our Discord just for announcements.
Anything to add?
Yeah, we're also looking for risk people as well for evaluating loans and borrowers. If you have any experience in DAO treasuries and financial reporting and that type of thing, we're definitely keen to talk to you.
Very
and yeah,
cool.
any Solidity devs, Web3 devs, you can talk to me. I'm our technical lead.
Perfect. Yeah, it's always the same. People want more and more Solidity devs. We saw Wartle sort of offering a 50k bounty to try and find one last week for Olympus. So thanks so much, Nach and Beebs, for helping facilitate. Nach and Beebs are both from the partnerships team. There's a lot of work that goes on into the background to make sure Omis that the projects that kind of have partnerships team support to make these proposals to the community, that make sure that the values are aligned from the project's founders and the team, and that they're actually addressing a real need in the space. So big thanks to Beebs and Nash and all the other partnerships contributors out there. And thanks so much, Will and Kiba, for coming on and making this proposal. We're very glad that you did, and Omis will have the proposal. So DebtDAO will be putting the proposal into an OIP, so that'll be in the proposal section of the forum, and that'll have a temp check poll. So if you like the sound of what's being proposed by DebtDAO, then tell us about it by indicating that you want the agreement to go through. And if you're not so sure, just say, oh well, maybe not at this stage. But yeah, thanks so much, Kiba and Will, and there'll be a recording of this which we will post later today, and obviously DebtDAO will also have a copy and probably post in their forum. So if there's anything you missed or you want to recheck, there's a lot of quite technical stuff discussed today. I didn't understand some of the words these big brains were using, but yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, good talking to you guys. Looking forward to what we can do with Olympus. So yeah, excited to see where things could go.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks a lot for setting all this up. It was really great talking to everyone.
Perfect. All right, Omis. You can follow DebtDAO. What's your Twitter handle?
Debtors. Like $20 a couple months ago.
It's debtors, like debt, DEBT.
Maybe we should spell it.
ORS. Yeah.
EBTI.
I've
DE.
got it in the AMA, so feel free
Oh,
to
right.
save yourself the frustration.
All right, perfect. All right, thanks so much, Yomis. Yeah, hopefully we'll be doing a number of these in the very near future as we continue working through with a lot of these partners that share our values. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Peace.
Stop the recording. Perfect. I don't know. I usually try and get the Me bot to make some music up here, but I'm having trouble with it recently. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Kiba. We'll just be in the partner server if you need anything from us, and then we'll work on getting that proposal up with you.
Mark, your voice is so soothing. What the hell? Unfair.
My one talent.
Doing the DAO, I hear it every day. It's like like Zen.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm like playing the Agora music in my head right now while he's talking. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. We just got that from like a free music website, and then we were like, oh, okay. But I think there's some like music guys now in Agora who are like, oh, we got to get something better than this. So we'll see.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
All right. Well, we'll see. I'll see you guys over in the DebtDAO server, and hit us up in the partner server if you need anything from us.
Take care,
Right.
everybody.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Peace out.